Hey, what's up, Shining Otaku? It's Cloud9 here today, and this is going to be the interview we did with Whyt Manga back in 2017. Now, before we begin this video, I just wanted to make sure that a lot of you out there just had fair warning that this video doesn't really have any visuals in it. What I mean by that is that all the video footage on the video itself, when we did the stream back on Facebook back in 2017, ended up getting a little bit corrupted. So if you were planning on throwing this up on the TV, this is definitely going to be an interview for the car, since it's really sluggish. There's at one point the video even cuts out and there's just audio. But I definitely know this is a video that you guys will enjoy. A lot of interesting things we talk about in there. It was a lot of fun, and definitely one that we wanted to make sure that we upload here on the YouTube channel. So anyway, guys, without further ado, enjoy.
Your screen. It should be all go back. All right, let's try Twitch. Let me go get the Twitch key.
Occurred while recording.
Because it always doesn't. We always get it right.
Alright, it's recording.
Can I share your screen? Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can. So unshare your screen.
I did.
There we go. All right.
It's not recording.
So go to Facebook Live. Your screen. It should be all go back. I hope you press streaming and recording when you did the OBS thing.
Yes.
Press. Okay. All right. Let's try Twitch.
Whyt Manga, on your end, is do you have the volume
Twitch.
going down the speaker or something?
No, it's just a regular volume.
It always doesn't. I can hear everything fine. It always get it right. It sounds good to me.
Recording.
Can I share your screen?
Is there any issue?
Oh, it is. Not for me.
Oh, okay. That's probably just on my end because I'm recording. All right, going live.
So we can. Oh, you hear a lot of noise. Is that what it is?
Well, no, I hear like double of everyone's voices, but that's just my end.
Unshare your screen. I thought it was the issue I had earlier. Okay. All right. Let's just go. All right.
It's not.
Let me know when we're up. So go to Facebook Live. Your screen.
Hold on, just press go live. It's still loading.
Okay. I hope you press streaming and recording when you did the OBS.
Yes, I did. We're live now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I see the notification. All right, let's try Twitch.
Whyt Manga.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Today we have a special guest on here. We have Whyt Manga. I want to make sure I pronounce your name right. Odunze. Am I saying it right? Odunze?
It's Odunze Ogugwo. It's just
Odunze Ogugwo. Is that right?
Yeah.
I know I probably butchered the mess out of it.
Nah, it's close enough.
Okay. But yeah, we have a special guest today. He's the creator of Apple Black for Saturday AM. It's definitely a pleasure for him being on today. And yeah, we're going to have a discussion. We're going to talk, and later on, you might even see, a little bit of drawing some if he's, up to it, if he's up to the challenge.
All right, going live.
But yeah, let's kick this thing off. So first things first. You hear a lot of noise. Wanting to ask you, is that what it is? A lot of people draw. A lot of people, a lot of artists, they have their inspirations, their things that they look for. And one of the things that when I look at your manga or I look at Apple Black,
but that's just my.
Sometimes it kind of reminds me, at least with the art style, a little bit of Bleach. Is Kubo actually one of your influences? Earlier, okay, all right.
I'll say that I have several influences, and Kubo is one of them. Sure.
It's not.
Okay, yeah, that's.
I'll say
let me know
that Yusuke Murata is one of them. Takehiko Inoue with Vagabond is one of them. Kubo is one of them.
So
there are many.
Go to Facebook Live. Okay. And with those influences, how I would have to say, like, if you had to meet one of them in particular, who would it be?
Live, it's still loading.
If you ask,
okay,
I think if you ask me that, I mean, it'll be an honor to meet any of them, right? But if you ask me that, say,
when you did the OBS
4 years ago, I'd say Kubo. But now I say Yusuke.
Yusuke. Oh yeah, he made One Punch Man. I see the
Yeah, he's the artist for One Punch Man, and I believe the artist of Ice Shield.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I know about Ice Shield. I never actually read it, but we have
Me neither.
Special guest on here. We have. I don't have to say Whyt Manga. I want to like myself. I don't make sure I pronounce your name, but right. I know one of the artists that I really like their style a lot. If I were to talk about the Japanese manga cut is what's his name? The creator of one of the creators. For some reason I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Obata?
Is that right? Yeah, Takeshi Obata. Thanks. Yeah. I know. Yeah, his style really the way that he does the hair. Like I love the detail that he puts in the level of hair. Of course, the aesthetic with the faces and whatnot. But I know some people. Of Apple Black Series actually says that he feels as though he doesn't challenge himself as enough as an artist. When I look at your work, you always look like you're consistently evolving for the past. We're gonna have years that I've seen your content through YouTube. You've given people instructions. You show people later on proper inking techniques. You might even on if they're trying to understand how to use different types of pens. What do you? If he's up to the challenge. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I cut you off. You go ahead.
Yeah, let's. I wanted to know, what do you think as far as first things with artists? What do you think? You hear biggest challenge, a lot of noise challenge an artist faces, or should have to. Is that what it is? Overcome when they're trying to evolve. Draw. A lot of people. A lot of artists.
They're trying to.
They have their inspirations. Things that they look for, and one of the things that I want to look at.
All I can say is look at Apple, because I think everyone's different. Everyone have their own challenges. Some things would be easier for some than others.
Kind of reminds me, at least with the art style, a little bit
of basically. Well, that's the key thing. Right? Everybody's different. Everybody's different.
One of your
all you can say, kind of tell your story and tell how you did whatever you did, and say people can take that however they want. For me, and Google is one of over the years. Sure,
it's not.
Key thing was for me to kind of let me know straight away, because I don't know when you guys started. I just kind of give the info I can and help whoever I can with Vagabond. I'm not always correct. I don't claim to know everything and all that kind of stuff. But when I first started, they're in line.
Go to Facebook.
2010, and they weren't necessarily good. I was just kind of getting my feet wet. And I know I took a break somewhere along the line, but I really came back full on in 2013. And my art style was, a lot of people say, one of them in particular. Because I used to get that a lot with the bleach connection and the connection. If you saw my earlier work, you asked me, it was way more bleach. I think if than anyone would say it is now. I barely get that comment, but in 2010, it was nonstop. And that was when I was also learning, evolving not just artistically, but the way I view comics manga years ago. So I didn't really not necessarily, but I didn't care about developing the original art style, but I was still kind of understanding things to try to figure out whether it he made try to figure out whether any of that stuff mattered, because I was still looking at it, because at the end of the day, right, when you see stuff that is say 2D Japanese animation, or when you see something from the West, you can differentiate, and I believe the artist you can tell them apart. And that's because
what's up, everybody?
All look alike. The characters have bigger eyes, or they all kind of have the same aesthetic. There are only very few that are a little more experimental, or look a little more realistic. And that's where maybe the style is really pushing to create something really, really, really original looking. Where the originality on it is really high, because I view originality almost like a bar. Some things are more original than others, but on average, most anime stuff kind of looks alike. So I was going in thinking not really. I didn't really think any of that stuff mattered. But over time, I kind of have seen value in wanting to kind of create your own mark and do something really original. So when I had that really bleach looking style, and I saw that everyone kind of the fact that it did bother some people, then it started to bother me. Maybe because I didn't want people to like look at my work and always think of Bleach. So that's when I started to try to develop something. I started reading other stuff and watching other stuff beyond just manga, and started looking into film, because when it comes to style, I think like style is more than just like the way you draw eyes or mouth. This is the way you draw, is the way you do everything. Period.
Oh yeah.
The way you write, the way you cut panels, the way the story is told, the techniques you use from an artistic standpoint or a writing standpoint, everyone's different. If you watch a Guy Ritchie movie, it's different from watching a movie from Christopher Nolan. So, I started to kind of like broaden my mind completely, 100%.
Beyond just manga, basically.
Yeah. And I started to experiment with techniques that maybe I had seen in one story or one series, and maybe there are things I like about it, and things I don't like about it. Taking things I like, things that I've never seen anywhere else, and things that I already bring originally. Like before I got into comics at all, I did draw a little bit, and there were tendencies that there were things that I tended to do that other people didn't, and I kind of like just blending everything that I know and all the things that I like to come up with something really new. So, over time, I think it takes time. It's just, I'll say consistency and like persistence to want to improve and be honest with yourself. I think over time, your work will continue to evolve, sometimes subconsciously. So even though looking at my work now, I think the best way would be to kind of go look at what I started with, at least from an art's perspective, and to where I am now. There's a huge difference. And even though my work right now, you can see the influences from Kubo, and now again, I don't get those comments anymore. I don't really get compared nearly as much as I used to before. And everyone kind of gets compared every now and then, but I don't get nearly as compared.
Oh no, I mean I hope I didn't. You didn't.
No. They're just trying to. Don't worry, you're good. Just stay with me. So I don't get nearly as compared as I used to. But like even now, right? You once in a while someone will throw a compare. Oh man, this reminds me of maybe Hunter X. I've gotten some Hunter X Hunter. I've gotten some. I've gotten some One Punch Man. I've gotten some. Kind of like Gintama and stuff like that. Just and that also kind of tells me that I've kind of spread out, because even back then I only watched and read a few mainstream stuff, but now I'm kind of again this is not just within the realm of just like sequential arts, but beyond that as well. So I think evolving as an artist, it's time, patience, persistence, and consistency. Also being honest with yourself with that want to improve and be original, kind of contribute to the comics as a whole in some way. And Kubo is one of over the years.
Oh, no, it's funny like a lot of these points that you brought up, because I feel like a lot of people don't get it. I feel like I know a lot of like creators who don't understand that when you're trying to make these creators, and that's what will make it original, is if you do draw inspiration outside of just the medium that you're in. Like if you take, for example, older creators like John Byrne. I'm not sure if you've you know John Byrne, but you might know of him. He's okay, yeah. He's one of the people from way back whenever when he did a lot of work Marvel Comics. And one of the things that my mentor in comics, Mark Dudley, he usually references to me is that it's important to know about a lot of these different like these different figures, because these figures, the reason what set them apart is the fact that they weren't just stuck on trying to do what was done in that day. They were trying to learn from places. For example, John Byrne, he was doing things that mangaka were doing at that time. Even though, you may have had a lot of the style that a lot of mangaka went through then, it was a lot, he still borrowed some of that. And he worked in American comics. The way that he did, I'm not sure if it, I'm sorry?
No, I just said yeah.
Oh yeah, like Nico, do you remember what Mark said about John Byrne in particular? I can't remember like the technique that he used to use that happened to be used that was used a lot in manga at that time. I'm not I'm not quite sure at the moment, but like, I think everybody probably, understands the point at this point. But like, oh no, I understand where you're coming from on that. But I guess to kind of bring it back to the topic at hand, do you have a particular aesthetic or a decade that you favor more in terms of what you appeal to? I'm not saying as far as what you actually draw, but like a style that you usually like a little bit more. Like, is it like a lot of the manga that came out maybe today or maybe back in the 90s, 80s? It doesn't have to just be manga. Actually, I'm gonna say like in the comics industry as a whole. So you can separate the two if you want.
I think with it, I kind of don't have like I really don't have a favorite. I kind of embrace and appreciate um, kind of everything as it comes, and I try to kind of see the positives in them. So I don't really. There isn't like an age where I'm like, oh, this was it. I think everyone has kind of brought in, something fresh to the game in a way. I'd say I was really into the times of, and this was when I got into sticking with manga, but sticking with Japanese comics. I gotten into the time of the when like One Piece, Bleach, Naruto, and the big three, blah blah blah. When they were at the top of the game, and kind of like even other comics around it that didn't get as much recognition. Like I still think things like Gintama is like one of the funniest animes that I've ever seen, or yeah, that I've ever seen, and mangas that I've read. But I think there isn't any specific time in Western comics or um, or Japanese comics, Eastern comics that I prefer to the other. I kind of like always. There's always something I really like in each. So even looking today, I like all the new stuff that's coming out on the Western side and from the Eastern side. I don't really read that many Western comics, but artistically, I'm always like fascinated with the improvements in art, and it's also kind of like trickling down to well, not trickling down. I think Japanese art has always been really great too. But as you guys would know, there is somewhat like a shift to where most people are now starting to do digital stuff, and sometimes you can't even tell the difference. But I'm like pretty okay with everything. So there isn't like a time that I look forward to or look back on specifically. Uh, do you have is there a time in comics
Who?
that
Well, he's basically saying like, is there a time in comics that we favor a little bit more? Like,
yeah.
so I don't know. You want to answer this first, Nico? Because I mean that.
At the
Otomo really was doing some crazy stuff.
as
You think about the
Akira?
I'm sorry.
Do you say Otomo?
Yeah, like Katsuhiro Otomo.
Yeah, Akira. That's what I said.
Oh yeah, Akira.
I mean, you're 100% right. I actually did a little research on, not a little, I did a lot of research on Osamu not too long ago, where some people today refer to him as the god of manga, yep. even though he didn't get that Walt Disney recognition, he didn't get that. At least I don't think he did, but yeah, those guys were, like you said, passionate and revolutionary in the sense of kind of like pushing the medium forward. So I agree 100%. I think, and those are like one of the positives you can look back on when looking at that time, and even much less to the actual work itself, more so appreciating the creators and their contributions to not just comics, but animation and stuff like that. So that's kind of like what I mean, where there's always something to really, really appreciate. I think now more so than then, for me, it's more the content, but that could the fact that I'm not freaking old might play a role in that.
Okay.
I'll say consistency and like persistence to
digital toning. Okay. Are you sure it was digital? Like back when he was. Are you sure that?
I think over time, your work will continue to evolve. Sometimes subconsciously. So even though looking at my work now, I think the best way would be to.
Okay, yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but okay, I kind of want to jump into Apple Black itself right now. Well, actually, no. Before we jump into Apple Black, I know you did, what was it, Candlejack and Samurai Top Hat before. Am I correct? Those two stories. So how long were those? Did you actually like? How much time did it spend, or did you actually take to develop those particular stories before moving on to Apple Black? Because if I'm correct, you reworked Apple Black at least 2 different times before actually putting it out. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Good journalistic work. But it would be safe to kind of like start from scratch. So like the beginning when I started, right? I already told you there was this almost naive but very plain look on everything, and so I wanted to work on Apple Black initially, and I was still learning everything. Learning everything from scratch. Most of damn near 90% of everything I know with regarding the creation of comics or anything that has to do with comics is stuff that I've researched on my own, or some things that I've learned online, and things of that nature.
You had like no like direct like tutelage?
No.
Oh, I mean, I gotta commend you for that, man.
So like everything was just like reading comics, reading Naruto, Bleach, anything I could read, watching anything I could watch, Rurouni Kenshin, and trying to figure out why the artists did what they did, from an artistic standpoint, or trying to. I definitely did more research on the art side of things before going into the writing side of things, because then I started looking into film and everything. Everything I know in regards to sequential arts, or damn near anything sequential, is kind of research on my own. But so in the beginning, when I was still learning, I wanted to start with Apple Black, and back then it was called Strawberry Black. And one of the funny things was, this was when I was really getting the Bleach comments, right? And it was YouTube, and YouTube was pretty different back then. And I don't know what's happened, but
I remember I could tell you stories about like the YouTube, because I've been on YouTube for like many years.
Yeah. So Yeah, so YouTube used to be really different back then. So I used to get like a lot of Bleach comments and stuff like that. And when the funny thing is, when it was called Strawberry Black, if you translate that to Japanese, at least this is what someone told me, is that in maybe in some kind of dialect, strawberry means Ichigo, right? And black means Kuro. So it was very it became even more Bleach than I thought it was. You know what I mean? Because the lead character of Bleach is Ichigo Kurosaki and stuff like that, and I had no idea. But again, I didn't really care too much. It didn't bother me too much. I really only decided to change, improve, evolve once I was kind of once I learned more, and then once I took into account the first impression my comics or my work was giving off, and had a little just talk with myself if that was actually what I wanted, or if that actually assisted or hindered the direction I wanted to go into. So I was working on it, doing the best I could. That back then I was trying to be completely digital, but I didn't have all the tools. I didn't know exact 100% what I was doing. There were things that I wanted to do with like Mock Studio. I didn't know how to do. I had to search for the video online and all that kind of stuff. But what I then decided to do, because I then, because I made some copy, I actually made a few chapters of the work, and it didn't look really good. It didn't have the professional look that it has today, or at least it was nowhere near what it is today, in my opinion. And I decided to kind of pull back and work on other things until I felt I was ready to fully produce what it is today, and that is Apple Black. So doing Strawberry Black, that's when I decided to do Candlejack, and I wanted to submit it to Yen Press just in case, because I think they were having like a contest at the time, so something like that, some kind of submission opening thing at the time. So I decided to do that, and I think I did it like a little over a month, and then that's like from scratch. So the story wasn't where it needed to be, but Candlejack was also kind of like a learning experience for me. So duration wise, it took like, again, like I said, a little over a month, and then I put that out once I didn't hear back from Yen Press, obviously, and I think that's on my DeviantArt, or is also on like the Saturday AM website. But on the Saturday AM websites, it's different because then it has my own critiques at the bottom. But then after that, I decided I wanted to kind of gain experience working with a writer, and that's where Samurai Top Hat comes in, because I'm not the creator of that. I was just the artist for it, and we decided to do similar to Candlejack. It was kind of like a learning experience, and also it here had a little that extra touch of the fact that, okay, now I'm working with a writer. Um, and so we did that. It was kind of like a one shot, and after Samurai Jack had a pretty good.
I was about to ask you about that. It's funny, actually.
Samurai Jack had a pretty good season. We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a second. Samurai. So we finished. We did Samurai Top Hat, and I kind of got the experience. Working with a writer. I don't think working with a writer is bad. Working with this writer was not fun at all. But I don't. It is what
it can always be a hit or miss depending on who you're working with. Like
exactly.
like I don't want to put people on Front Street, but like I had a really bad experience going back a few years ago working on one of my stories with a different artist.
So it's kind of like one of the things I learned with that is kind of like, before you jump into stuff like that, you really need to know who you're working with. You really need to know what it is. Is it a commission or a collaboration? If it's a commission, then you should be compensated in some way, especially if both of you are nobody. So it's not like someone can come and tell you, oh, you're going to gain exposure from this or something like that. Anyways, I kind of just told myself mentally that, okay, I've started this, I'm going to finish it. So we finished that, and it was kind of like a one-shot thing. And, we wanted to do like an extra chapter, and I was like, no, man, I'm back. I'm going this is after Strawberry Top Hat. God damn it. After Samurai Top Hat.
Strawberry Top Hat coming out soon.
Strawberry Top Hat that's happening in an alternate dimension. So after Samurai Top Hat, I was like, all right, it's time to kind of get back into Apple Black. And I think that I don't know if you guys are familiar with ink blazers.
Yeah, I know about ink blazers.
So when ink blazers popped up, I decided to put it out there because Apple Black was my main thing. That was like my main. That's like the big story I wanted.
That was your magnum opus, your baby.
That's my that's my Kamehameha. So I decided to, and from my YouTube channel, that's the main thing that people wanted to kind of see from me. Everything else was almost like a sidetrack. So then I put out the first 3 chapters on Ink Blazer, and then the whole Saturday AM thing happened, and we are where we are today, with Volume 1 out with the first 9 chapters, and then Volume 2 coming out. Volume 2 getting done this summer. When it's coming out, I don't know. I don't know yet, but definitely this year. And then so creating the chapter, I was doing all this while I was in college. And well, I'm still in college, but I'm in graduate school now. And so I did chapter 1 while I was in college, and then I released that. And chapter 1 took maybe 2 months because I was doing a lot of things at the same time. And with the chapter 1, I wanted it to kind of be almost echo what most mainstream Japanese comics do, with the first chapters having a little more than your average page number amount. And I also wanted to do something with it where the first chapter served as a chapter that kind of let you into the story, but also could serve as a one shot if it needed to be. So I was trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone with that, and also show people and send it to people and get some feedback on it. So that's where it's been. And I know I released it on Ink Blazer in like 2012, no, 2013, and the volume came out December 14, and volume 2 is coming out in this year, 2017. Samurai Top Hat took like, again, I think around like 2-3 months, just because you had to go back and 2-3 months with the actual production of it, because going back and forth with the writer. But there were some weeks of developing like the character designs and things like that. So that's kind of like my trajectory when it comes to like putting stuff out. To date, Apple Black would be, by the time Volume 2 is out, that would be the 18th chapter.
Okay. Now, while we're on the topic of Apple Black, I wanted to ask, like, could you show us like anything that you might be working on like right now? Like, if you're drawing like Apple Black, or I don't know if you're like if that's something you're working on. 'Cause I think you're at a desk right now, right? Or
no, this is man, right now I'm working on. You can take it as, I don't know. I don't want to say exclusive because it's not like that many people care, but I'm working on.
You shouldn't put yourself down.
I'm not putting myself down, but I like to be realistic too. Is no one knows about it yet. At least I don't talk about it. But I'm working on a commission, right? And the commission is almost like its own thing, and it's gonna be a book thing, and I have to design characters and do all that kind of stuff, and that kind of helps me with the bills. And then I'm working on a different thing for my graduate research on a different project that I will kind of create a one shot for, and then like a pitch Bible packet thing to maybe pitch to studios to maybe get like an animated thing out of it. But regarding to, and this is all while Volume 2 needs to be completed and that needs to come out. But so right now with Volume 2, I'm just kind of like working on finishing the pages, doing some illustration, some promotional posters for it, because that's the one that my followers really care about, because that's the one they know about. And this is something we're working on. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, let me see if I can do the screen share thing.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
That would be it'll be easier to actually see what's going on.
Now, Nico, I'm not sure if things will change on the overlay, so yeah.
Okay. So this is These are things that I've been working on. Gosh, I hit like the plus sign, right?
If you're, yeah, you can hit the plus sign, and then there should say,
share screen.
Yep.
So y'all can see it?
No, I can't see it. I'm still seeing you.
Hold on.
There we go. Let me see how it looks on the stream, so everybody can. Oh, you're about to fix it. Make another layer for it. I think, can't you? Just do that real fast. You can make another layer. That way you don't interrupt his. You know, when we go back to that. Make another layer to show the window, and then. Did you do it? Okay, yeah, just continue. You were saying about it though, the piece.
Oh yeah, this is just like a promotional poster for Volume 2, and I'm going to do several of them, and at the same time, there's a way I want to release them, and so I'm also like with Apple Black now, kind of exclusive on Saturday AM. Saturday AM is a digital anthology magazine. Also, not just publishing and serializing Apple Black, but other cool comics. Also playing around with, unlike Volume 1, having a better, stronger marketing strategy for this. So, you know, the promotional posters and the release, and the release of the book is going to be a little more flashy than last time. And these illustrations are going to play a role in that.
Okay, so it's like we're getting like that sneak peek then by seeing this.
Basically, no one else.
Oh, well, sure. I'm honored, and I'm pretty sure everybody else who's watching the stream is happy.
No one else has seen this, so.
Man, that looks amazing, man. I'm really liking it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, I haven't like finished the first volume quite yet, but you know, I'm looking forward to you know, seeing everything else. You know, when I continue it.
Yeah.
Let me see here. Yeah, I know. I was about to say something about lost my train of thought. It happens a lot. But kind of going back to one of the core things in Apple Black, I noticed how, and I know you've actually, I think you've said this before because I checked out another video where you were talking before that one of the core things in Apple Black is forgiveness.
Yeah.
So I actually wanted. This is like straight up like a honest question. Like, are you a Christian?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm a Christian too. So when I see that, I was like, man, my dude, I'm glad because you capitalized on something. I feel like it's not really focused on much in stories.
So this is it was something where, and I don't want it to. What I want is just something that I want to explore that I feel has never truly been explored completely. The one thing that we see a lot of, and I'm not saying it's bad, it's just something we see a lot of, is kind of like the opposite with revenge and things like that.
I'll never forgive you.
Yes. And here, I also don't want to claim that I have the answers. So it's just something I want to explore with the main character and have him go through, having him maybe initially having that some people would consider maybe naive look on things, especially because the character has not been, Sanos is one that hasn't really been exposed to the world as much, so as he just knows what he's been told or read, and then he would have to come to terms when he's faced with the similar situations where maybe he would have to take his own advice, and will he, won't he, things like that. But I wanted to kind of explore forgiveness because it's not one that I feel has been explored at all, and then also a little bit a sense of evangelism in a little bit. But I'm also not that big. Like, I'm a Christian and I go to church and stuff like that, but I'm not that religious. I just thought it's the initial goal here was just I felt like it was something interesting to explore, where maybe the villains that he meets would be able to almost educate him on what he's talking about and how, maybe he doesn't really know what he's talking about. And, just to explore that with the character. And I thought that it would be like an interesting twist with a character like that. Oh yeah. Another thing was, back then I used to get like a lot of, I was getting a lot of Bleach comments, right? But then when you see Sano, I was getting a lot of Sasuke comments. And the fact that he, character-wise, I think the only comparison is because of the long black hair and some of the blue in the color scheme, and it's really purple, but whatever. They are very, very different characters. He's a little more goofy. He's a little more out there. He's a little more oblivious. Can't really talk to girls. But one of the main things was how Sasuke is more revenge, and he's the complete opposite of it. So I always comments like that. I always like, you clearly haven't read it. You know what I'm saying? But
I think the problem is like, I think people usually have the tendency to just latch on automatically to something they already know, because I've had the same thing before with my stuff, not Bleach, but like people have said, like, remember when I first released my stuff, that it was like Kill la Kill.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was like, at that time, it was like a few years ago, I hadn't even watched Kill la Kill yet. So I'm like, wait, what are you talking about?
So, and with that, and it was not like a knock. It's not me even knocking them, but because it's also kind of, it's kind of information for me as well. So, but it also lets me know that, one, they haven't read it, because it's not like they're saying it's a ripoff. They just say that, their initial reaction is a little Sasuke, but but that's how I know they haven't read it. If anyone who's read it, they don't come up with that comparison. And anyone who looks at the pictures and the promotional illustrations closely will be able to see it. But at the end of the day, the criticisms are also good in some ways, is what I'm trying to say. And it's information from me. But yeah, that's with it. That's the story with the whole forgiveness thing. Will he? Won't he? It's almost like his journey of understanding what he actually is setting out to do, and will he or won't he kind of
be built up to be like at the end, just be like, forget everybody, skip them. I'm going.
Yeah, you never know what will happen.
I'm about to run through a town.
You don't know what will happen if he would change, because I'm also exploring.
Eden will become hell.
He could change completely to be, what he's against right now. There's certain parts of the story where I want to explore a little bit of a kind of a Dexter, Breaking Bad kind of thing, where the bad guy is the lead.
Awesome.
So, and it'll also be a really cool journey to see that happen, if it happens.
Okay. Like, since we're like kind of moving towards like the late half of the stream now, like we're on the late half, like, would it be possible if we can like see you draw a little bit, or is that too much to ask? Is that, if you're not up to it, that's fine.
I'm okay with it. I just don't know how, because this is my computer. And
like, do you have like a detachable like webcam or no?
No, it's a Mac, so the cam is directly.
Oh, okay. Well, don't worry about it.
They can watch the YouTube videos.
Yeah, just go to, if you want to see Whyt Manga draw, just go to Whyt, so that's WHYT Manga. Type that in the YouTube search bar, you should find them right there.
Yeah, the YouTube.com/Whyt Manga TV.
TV, you got it.
Okay.
Well, unless you wanted to, but oh, and then let me see here. Okay. Now, here's another thing. Have you actually ever had anybody cosplay as one of your characters?
Yeah. There was a guy, kind of two. One of them was just kind of like for fun, almost like a celebration of Volume 1's release, and he dressed up as, not fully. He really just it was really just a hairstyle where he dressed up as one of the characters called Ruby, But another one, there was another guy on, and I shared it on Instagram, where he dressed up full on as one of the characters, Mikhail, and Mikhail kind of, he's the smoking character. If you've read, he's in chapter 1. If you read chapter 1, then you know who I'm talking. So he dressed up as Mikhail. So that was pretty cool.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's like a lot of people's like goal. They're just like, I just want to see it. That's what, like, if people just do it on their own, it's just like, you're just like, yes, it's coming, it's becoming real, you know. Yeah. Like the fandom.
Yeah, I'll hold off till anime, till I'm watching it on TV.
You got any networks you're trying to watch it on? If you had to pick.
To be honest, I'm not, as as long as the show is done right and it's on a network that that makes sense, and there isn't one network. As long as
done right. Studio then. That's even more of a better question. That you would want to animate it if you had to pick.
If it was on, I'd be fine if it was like a freaking. I'll be cool if it was like on Toonami. I'll be cool if it was like a Netflix original. I'll be cool if it was a Hulu original. I'll be cool if it was, anything. As long as the show's done right, I'm good.
Okay.
I think the whole the original is nice, because then there's only one place for you to get it.
Netflix original.
Unless you pirate it.
Man, I think everybody does that sometimes. Like, I mean, I usually do a lot of streaming, but I'm like, shoot, I have a friend. He literally just torrents everything. I mean, he has so much crap on his computer. Like, he doesn't even, like, he'll just say, like, oh, yeah, like, you'll mention a show to him, like, have you seen this? He's like, no, but I'm pretty sure I have it. That's how bad it is. Where I'm like, dude, you just probably just go through a whole list, don't you? But, I don't know. Do you have a question in particular, Nico?
Everything was just like reading comics, reading Naruto, Bleach, One Book, anything I could read, watching anything I could watch, Rurouni Kenshin, and trying.
Way to go there, Nico. I'm kidding.
Figure out why the artist did what he did, why from an artistic standpoint, or trying to. I definitely did more research on the art side of things before going into the writing side of things, because then I started looking into film and everything. Everything I know in regards to sequential art, so damn near anything sequential is kind of research on my own. Yeah. So for example, with Candle Jack, one of the things I learned was kind of like to take time with the designs, especially especially depending on the importance of a character. As maybe it's a character that you're going to see a lot of, a character you're going to draw a lot, draw a lot within whatever it is, whether it be animation or a comic. And there were times where I kind of like quickly designed something and I just put it out there without truly going through it, right? So when I say rush, again, every artist is different. Rush to me could be a not rush could be spending 3 days with a character, and a not rush for someone else could be a month. So it's one of those things where you're honest with yourself, where this is it. This is truly what you want. This is truly visually what you want, and it doesn't only apply to character design. It applies to background designs. It applies to your style as a whole. And sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. Sometimes you are just meant to kind of put stuff out there and allow it kind of evolve over time. I mean, if you look at the first chapters of Bleach and you look at Bleach now, the art style is very different. So, but at least getting to that point where it's it's still good to you, like it's still really good, but then it can be better over time. So I think probably with the Lily videos, because I designed her so many times before, and like in the first iteration of Strawberry Black, and I hated what I got. Like I look at it today and I was like, what the hell was I thinking, you know? And I'm pretty satisfied with what I have now. And so that kind of takes time sometimes. So that's what I mean when I say don't rush, is really take your time with each design, each character, and really put it out. There were some times in Candle Jack where I was designing the character right there on the page, and I see it happen all the time.
Man,
you know, you design a character right there on the page. Then when you have to draw the character the other time, you wanna have consistency, right? So you find yourself like flipping back a couple times to, oh wait, is the shoe black or is it white? Yeah. So it's like really become familiar with what you're creating, and then because a flip side to this question is sometimes some people ask when is it time to release the work? When is the right time to, like, oh yeah, I'm good enough to put your work out, right? And I guess that's that's beyond character design, and that's like more of your overall style. When are you ready to put it out? And my answer, again, I don't claim to like know everything, but my opinion to that question would be to kind of make sure that you tick off all the professional boxes of how it looks. Does it look professional? Do you like it? Are you being honest with yourself as it works, and that it works? And can you compare it to your favorite comics? And I know a lot of people kind of say the opposite, where, oh, don't compare yourself. I disagree. I disagree a lot. For me, right? Like I said, everyone's different. So, you may not want to just listen to my answers, kind of listen to a lot of people's answers and judge for yourself. And maybe you would come up with a even better answer. But for me, I always compared my, like, before I started really putting stuff out, I always try to make sure, or at least before I put something out and I'm really proud of, I always ask myself if I'm able to compare it to the pros that I look up to, even though it might not be. And again, being honest with yourself, right? Because you can lie to yourself and put out trash and say it's Takeshi Obata level, but it's not. Being honest with yourself in your opinion, right? And because again, even if you're honest with yourself, someone else might still think it's trash. But at least to you, if you're honest with what you're putting out and you feel like it's comparable, maybe not better, but on that level, on that playing field, you look at One Piece art style and you look at Naruto art. There's some people that think One Piece art style is trash. There's some people that love it, but you can see that both comics are on the same playing field to a degree. They're both shonen comics that both have that professional feel, professional look in the way they're produced. And if you kind of have to be honest with yourself to where when you're able to pull that off and you agree, and it's also good to get feedback from other people and a couple other people that you value their advice also agree, then you're in a good place.
So do you have like an editor or somebody that consistently?
I trust myself to be super honest with me.
Okay.
With the like I said, I'm developing like a one shot, and that one shot I'm also kind of trying to put together a pitch packet. Pitch packet. I kind of have, you can almost say like my professor is kind of like an editor on that, and throughout the whole process of me creating work, my work is out there. So I get a lot of feedback from a lot of people. People who know what you're talking about and people who don't. People who are in the middle, or so I get a lot of feedback from everybody. So I can kind of gauge when I put out trash and when I don't.
Okay.
Because the work is out there. And if majority of the people that I know who value or who, because like if you look at Apple Black is kind of like there's some liberties that I take with it, but overall at its core, it's very the style of how it's produced is very mainstream shonen. Has that mainstream shonen look to it in some parts, right? So if people who really like mainstream stuff like Apple Black, and that means that I'm not far behind. You know what I'm saying? So I can kind of gauge with the reception I get from people online and from people who have seen it, and from like the reviews I get and stuff like that. Now the initial review before it's put out, right, before anybody sees it, where it's just me being honest with myself, then the answer is at least for Apple Black and not the one I'm doing research on, and which is also why I did research on Osamu Tezuka, by the way. But with like Apple Black, where it's just me, I kind of just use me because I kind of trust me a little bit to know what I like and what I don't. So sometimes just you might be enough.
Okay. Now we're gonna get ready to basically we're closing it out now. We're getting ready to wrap things up because I know we've been going for about an hour now. We don't want to take too much of Whyt Manga's time up. But just to ask a couple of last questions. The first one I want to know from you is, has your family always supported your goals as an artist?
Quick answer, I'll say is yes. But there. So there's. I grew up in Nigeria, and I grew up in Nigeria for like first 16 years of my life, right? And generally, if you're from an African country, African background, they kind of not that many people are going to be artists. It's usually just because of how things are there and the economy and things like that. So there's some times where family members might want to, because they're trying to look out for you. Maybe they don't feel like comics is a lucrative thing, and it isn't for, at least not yet. And it's actually getting better in Nigeria. But when I went back then, it definitely wasn't, and at all, because it's not like it is now. But you get my point. But they were just trying to look out for you, and usually the joke is that African parents want you to be either three things: a lawyer, a doctor, or an engineer. And I was none of those, and I was an artist. So initially, there was the concern, right? But at the end of the day, they kind of still let me do what I wanted to do, and they were really supportive about it. That said, initially when I got into college, I was a computer science major and a fine art minor. But before I graduated, it flipped. I became a fine art major and a computer science minor, and that's how I graduated. Now, as a graduate student, I'm doing my MFA in visual communications, and I'm doing some research in sequential arts. So overall, I say yes, especially now more so than ever. So, but initially there were concerns, definitely.
Okay. Two more questions for me, then if you have a question or something, Nico, I'll let you go ahead and do it. I guess I'll make these ones quick. First or last two for me are, and they're going to be very different. I'm just letting you know right now. Do you have any rivals in, and being a creator? And what's your thoughts on Samurai Jack? Since we never got back to that, I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, for the first question, I just keep thinking about that. But Samurai Jack, that's pretty straightforward. These are the best episodes of Samurai Jack. Period. These are, I think, and the previous Samurai Jack had some pretty good episodes. I think I did not watch all of them. I just couldn't, and Cartoon Network, they'll do things where they show the same episode a million times. But so I don't think I watched all the episodes prior to this final season. But I think I saw some of the really good ones. The one with the arrow, the three arrow guys at the top. I thought that was really good. And even though it was a kid show, there was something to the cinematography of it and the way the show was cut together, and there's this pretty good artistic aesthetic to the show, even though it had some moments where the art's very kid friendly, but it still achieved some really cool cinema. So I thought Samurai Jack was always a good show, and it was a shame that it never truly ended. So I was looking forward to this final season. When the final season came, it was really good. I think episode 2, easy, best Samurai Jack episode I've ever watched in my life. And I think the season was amazing.
Okay, yeah, I could agree with you on that 100%, especially with the whole thing with Jack and Ashi. I don't want to spoil it too much for anybody, because I know there might be some people that maybe haven't finished it, but Ashi is a very interesting character. I'll say that much.
Yeah. I like all the little throwbacks they had, little fan service here and there. Only people like me get it, or people who watched the previous season get it. And I was a big fan of that era of cartoons, with the Dexter, Pop-Up Girls, Johnny Bravo, Jack, Foster's Homes. So yeah, I was big on it. Yes, no, I've not really been too big on Cartoon Network recently, but I still think that I still try to, like I said, with every era, I always try to find what makes this era pop, because clearly there are people that are really into the cartoons that are out now. So there's something there, and to be honest, I haven't really given them a fair shot to start from scratch and watch maybe the first episode and really get into it. So maybe once I do that, then I'll really get into it. But definitely that era with the Pop-Up Girls, Mega XLR, Samurai Jack.
Oh, Megas, man.
Now Megas, they should bring another season. I'll watch the season.
So do you like the Mecha? Oh, you know what? I'm about to take this on too far. Go ahead, Nico. What's your questions? I'm about to ask this to like 10,000.
And also show people and send it to people and get some feedback on it.
But so do you like the mecha genre, like of this period?
Not really, actually. And well, I don't hate it. It's not. Again, similar to the cartoons that are out. I haven't really given it a shot. So I was big into Voltron. I was big into, and not I haven't seen the recent one. I know there's the new one on Netflix. But I was big into. I loved Mega XLR because it was almost like a parody of all of them. Hello. So, but there hasn't been one mecha show that I sat down and like watched. I've seen a little Big O, I've seen a little here and there. I've seen Power Rangers. Power Rangers is kind of mecha, I guess. But I'm sure they're good. I just haven't,
Yeah.
And I think maybe it's because I don't relate to giant robot kind of things. But to be honest, there isn't an answer. I don't hate them. I just haven't sat down to watch one where I'm like, oh yeah, that was really good. So I'm sure they're good. I just don't know if I really like them or not because I haven't sat down to really give them a chance. But I know the fandom for them is pretty top notch.
Okay, well, I appreciate you coming on today. Did you want to make shout outs or show your your manga to the audience, for anybody who may, this may be their first time seeing it, or
I have a book somewhere. Oh yeah. This is actually Samurai Top Hat right here. This is like an old print from like 2012. But this is volume 1 of Apple Black, published and serialized on Saturday AM. You guys can go check out Saturday AM if you haven't, because there's some really cool titles on there like Clock Striker, Bully Eater, and Saigami. Saigami done by Andrea, the Saigami Project, who's also on YouTube. You can check her out. Check out the website. It's just Saturday-am.com. We have some cool stuff coming out. Even something where it's kind of like a Saturday PM, where it would be more mature storylines and more mature themes explored within these stories, and that's coming out soon as well. And we have other things that we kind of want to strategically announce and things like that. So yeah, check out Saturday AM, check out Apple Black.
Okay, and that was Whyt Manga, ladies and gentlemen. Next week, you'll make sure you guys pay attention to the Facebook page. We're putting up part 2 of the new Gods of Life chapter. Make sure you check that out. We're currently working on the Striker and Slayer, series. The next chapter is getting produced, and Naraku Murder will also be coming out pretty soon as well with the new revamped series. So again, thank you, Whyt Manga, for coming on board. Thank you, we'll announce when the next interview is in the next week or so. So everything's a work in progress. I thank you all, everybody from Shining Otaku. Only together can we burn brightly, and we'll catch you guys later.
Thanks for having me.
Did it end?